they've got 9 players on international duty. You have a couple as well. Just what are your thoughts on the league continuing to play through the FIFA windows? And, as a manager, how do you deal with that and prepare for that?
Well, I mean, I've been dealing with it the whole time I've been in the league, both as a player and a coach. So, I mean, I guess I'm to the place where I'm kind of used to it. I think there isn't anybody that's in any team that would not want a situation where, there was a break and we didn't have to do it. Now, we all get a chance to elect that in the beginning of the year. Like, we get a chance to elect if we want to play in that break or not, and we can exclude it as well. Where the issue then comes into play is then you wind up having more Wednesday games. Like, your season gets congested in other times anyway. So it's kind of one of those things. It's 6 and 1/2 dozen the other. How you're just trying to figure out the best way to do it. And then the other is you can also say, hey, I'll take the spring, the spring, usually that April, March international break. I'll take that one. I won't play in that one, but I'll play in the other two, or, you can pick and choose. So I think we do have some flexibility with that, each individual team. But like I said before, where it becomes very difficult is that then you get congested in other places, because there's only so many weekends or so many weeks that are play dates, if you will.
And then
I'd rather have it. My point is I'd rather have it so that you have all your players available all the time.
Yeah.
But I just don't know how you do it based on that criteria.
And then if they don't have Messi, they still have Busquets, Alba, a lot of quality players in that side. How are you preparing for a team that's going to look relatively different than what they've been on?
Yeah, I think that you always have to be very, very aware of your opponent. And obviously, if Messi's on the field, you have to be incredibly aware of him, right? I mean, he's the best player in the world. So that's always a part of any issue that you go up against any team. But I also think that, for us, it truly doesn't matter who's playing, because, as you said, they have a very, very good roster. They have a lot of players that can play at a very high level, and there's a lot of quality there. And so nothing has changed for us. We got to go in with, the mentality that we got to go play our game as well. We have to be concentrated and focused, because they have proven that they have won a lot of games, in Leagues Cup, and then also gotten a lot of great results here also in league play, because of the quality that they have in their team. And there's been different guys that have been put into that lineup and have all contributed.
But for your group coming out of that Leagues Cup, 2 back-to-back huge wins over, good opponents that are above the playoff line, how would you assess that confidence momentum with your group right now for the second straight year pushing for a playoff spot? Like, what's kind of something that you've taken from how the teams maybe come together and how they're looking at this final stretch?
I think last year was a little different. And I say that because what we got last year was reinforcements. This year, it was actually, we're getting our team together, because last year we weren't getting Gotti and Allen back. That just wasn't happening. And so now those guys are available. It was actually getting some other guys fit that were having a chance to actually get into the end of the season, help us make this push at the end. So I think that's where there's a big difference, because like when you see us and we're making changes into our team, you're constantly trading quality for quality, which or that other person brings on something that's can be really advantageous to our team when I stick him in the game. And again, I don't say that in disrespect to other guys. I just say that there's different guys that are in the maturation of their career. And so when all those guys weren't in, it was very difficult. Whereas now, as much as we didn't want to exit the Leagues Cup, but those early games, having 3 games and those quality games helped other guys get into form, get fit. And then what it also did was the time that we had as well, it gave us a lot of time to really spend on working on some of the things that were important to us moving forward. But, I'll go back, like those 2 games are done. Like we now have this real focus on this game, because we know that, we're going into the Lions' den, and we got to get something out of that game. I don't know what it is, but we got to get something out of that game, and it's going to take all the guys to contribute for sure.
Speaking of health of the group and getting players fit, how where is the team at right now with guys coming back?
Majority of the guys are in training. There's I would say most of the guys are good. The only player that I think that still could be available for the game that wasn't at training today would have been Redoya. Outside of that, I think we're pretty solid. People are moving forward. Zeus is still not available, but he's been training. Today was a deload day for him. And we're just trying to be very mindful as we bring a few of the guys back. But all in all, I think we got a decent group that we'll be able to go to Miami with.
Speaking of injuries, it seems like this year Johnny's had maybe more injuries than he has a lot of years in the past, but he's played through it, still contributed, even if it's not as much goals. What can you say about a guy like him that's just been out there? He seems a warrior.
Well, he is. When you look at because if you saw the action, which wasn't fun to watch, against San Jose, and for him to go like the 60 minutes that he did, score and all that stuff, and then to be able to be available for the last game, and listen, that last game was a battle, right? Both teams playing at a high level, both teams playing at a high intensity. The referee allowing the game to be played by both teams and allowing it to be physical, which I'm good with. I like the way if you're a fan, to watch that game is a lot of fun for me, I think. And so, yeah, he is. I would say that he is. There's no doubt. Johnny, I can go to Johnny and ask him anytime, like, hey, what do you think? Oh, I want to play. And sometimes I got to be the one to hold him back. To be fair, on this last game, I was not, as of Friday, he was not starting. And I was even questioning whether or not I put him on the 18 or in the 20. And, I just kept sitting with me overnight. And the next morning I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk to him when he gets there, and I'm going to, have a real conversation with him, which I did when he got to the stadium. And he's like, I'm ready to go. I really am. And he was. And he played 80 minutes and he was a warrior. So Redoya as well, his ankle was bothering him. I give him a lot of credit as well for coming in and playing the second half that he did. There's quite a few guys that have played with some things and have mustered through it. And then unfortunately there's some other guys that haven't done that. And that also bothers me, because I think, listen, we're in a profession where you're never healthy. Like, you're always got something that bothers you, and you got to find ways to deal with it. And those guys are. So I appreciate that, and I know that their teammates do as well.
And you mentioned Redoya just there, and that he wasn't in practice today. He said he should be available for this weekend. Is it just kind of a managing the load right now?
I think so. I think so. I think he could. I think he will be.
I know, last year you guys got really close making that push to get into a playoff spot and fell just short. And
we just needed like one or two more games to play.
Yeah, exactly. But, I had a conversation with Johnny recently, kind of in a similar, sense of like, hey, he was like, we're flying right now. I feel like we're that team that nobody would want to play, which I remember you saying quite often last year. What takeaways do you think, especially for the guys who were part of that squad last year that were just like right there, what takeaways do they have from that going into this year, where they know they're in a similar spot but have enough games to do it?
I think one is that we can compete with any team in the league. I think that's one, and you have to. It's one thing that ask yourself the question, but you got to be able to answer it truthfully, and you have to feel that when you say yes, you actually really believe that, right? You have to have the confidence, and I think the group does. I think that what I think we always have is we have a very confident but humble group, right? They're confident in what they do, but there's humility within the group, and I think we have that. But I think also they know the recipe that you need to get points at this time of the year, because. I would say that when you look at our last two games, because I would even say the San Jose game. The San Jose game was a fast-paced, tactically at times It was a game where we had to adjust, and the guys had to, make quick decisions because the game was fast. And then this last game, when you look at the intensity, the physicality of it, that's a playoff atmosphere. And we've been in a lot of these guys have been in a lot of playoffs over the years. They've been in those environments, and that's what you have to be ready for at this time of the year. And you have to be willing to bring it week in and week out. And so I think those are the things that our guys have experience in.
Gadi Kinda goes to international duty with Israel, but he didn't make the game against St. Louis. Just what's the ankle situation, and how comfortable or uncomfortable were you with him going over there?
Yeah, I wasn't comfortable with it at all. I'm not happy with that situation at all. I'm actually very, very disappointed. I'm disappointed in the Israeli Federation. I'm also disappointed with Gadi at this time, and I'm disappointed because he was injured. He was unable to practice on the Friday before the St. Louis game. Our doctors are more than capable enough. Our medical staff is more than capable enough to make an assessment and say where a player is. I think we have proven that we do the right thing by our guys at all times. This isn't some idea to dupe the Israeli national team so that the player's healthy but he can't train and we don't want him to go and then we keep him back. It was nothing to do with that. We wanted to make sure the player was right, and he wasn't. He had a hard time just making a normal run on the field, and so I'm not happy with it at all. But as I said before, the guys that are here and the guys that are available and the guys that are going to play and the guys that understand what's in front of them, those are the guys that we're going to the game with.